Inniswell Ministries International presents Midweek Message Poolside. The pool is my partner in crime for the summer. All right, so family, whenever I do scriptures of the day, I always try to make it like to bring so I pick a topic and then I use scriptures from the Old Testament and the New Testament. It has to have both, even if it's only one of the other. It still has to be there because we need to have a better understanding that the Old Testament is the foundation, and Jesus is the rock on top of that foundation, right? So we have our foundation, and then we have a concrete slab on top of it. That's how we'll put it. And that's how our foundation is so strong, because we have the brick foundation and the concrete slab. And so I don't ever want you to think that the New Testament does away with or in any way negates the Old Testament. That somehow God in the Old Testament is different than Jesus in the New Testament. Same God. Same God. All right, so if you don't read your Old Testament, you wouldn't know that not only was Jesus' life prophesied, but his death prophesied as well. If you didn't read your Old Testament, you would not know that the children of Israel messed up over and over and over again. And although God did correct them, he always forgave them when they turned back to him. And so you wouldn't know that, and you wouldn't know that you could do that. Yes, you can, and yes, he will. If you didn't read the Old Testament, you wouldn't know that all of the fathers of the Old Testament, all of the major players in the New Testament, very few of them were clean. Very few of them didn't have some stuff with them. And because I know that, I have stuff with me. Folks that know me know that my past isn't squeaky clean. But what I know is that God just don't pick squeaky clean people. He don't pick perfect people. He don't pick the best and the brightest. He picks who he wants to pick. And he gives them everything they need to do whatever job he has for them. And so, but that's because I read the Old Testament, I know. So family, it is so important that you're reading the Old and the New. And I know, because I'm a King James reader, I know how difficult some of the language can be. I know how tedious the lineages could be. But when I tell you how important those lineages are, those lineages teach us about different places in the Bible and who those people were. The lineages teach us about the descendants of Ham, the descendants of Shem, and the descendants of Japheth, and where they were in the world. Those lineages matter, and they're important. And so when they would get too tedious, I would start writing it out. And when you write it out and look at it, it looks a little different. And so, don't get caught up on the tediousness. Always remember that names are important. Names were important then, and names are important now. I guess that's all. It is so important to read both, because if you read both, you'll understand that Jesus never tried to take anything out of away from the Old Testament, and neither did Paul. And so we don't negate the Old Testament. The Old Testament isn't thrown away. The New Testament builds upon the foundation of the Old Testament. The Old Covenant builds upon the New Covenant. The New Covenant builds upon the Old Covenant. All right, well, join us again next time when In His Will Ministries International presents Midweek Message. Until then, join us on Sunday. Our message is, well, I'll write it in the comment section. Until then, bye.